If you're introverted and worry about networking, this is for you. Hi, my name is Ralph from Pacemaker. I'm a career coach.
Hey everyone, my name is Robert Hislop. I'm a career coach and career development specialist. I help people prepare for interviewing. I help them with salary negotiation, and I help guide you through your career by giving you career advice.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for coming in today. I sent you another interesting article about networking, right? It was really interesting. I wanted to share with you, and you are one of the king of a network. So I wanted to go over this article with everyone. And what's your thoughts on this?
It's a great article, Ralph. Covers some very interesting points from 1 down to 10. I definitely like some of these that I think jump out at me. One of them is when you're in a networking situation, the first thing you can do is ask an individual about themselves. People love to talk about themselves. Once they start to talk, then that will lead you down the path where they will give you some information, whereby you're practicing your active listening. And from that, you will elicit some information where you can ask another question. Ultimately, that will give you more things to ask as they tell you about what is that they do, how they do it, and why do they do it.
I think that's very important. We're so worried. How can I start a conversations, or how to get into that group or talk with the strangers, right? It's not easy, right?
Well, it is when you're introverted, like myself, which we'll talk a bit about in a minute. But you basically ask somebody, how did they get into a specific industry? And they will tell you. And from that will give you an insight as to why they did it, how come they're doing it, and what they love about it. So you can just simply ask the how, why, when questions, and that will help you develop that rapport. Once you start to talk by asking interesting questions, people will share information with you about what is that they do.
Exactly. I think that's very important. In this article, how to network effectively, I think it's very important to just pinpoint a few points that I think is really effective. I think we should really sit down and prepare before we actually go into the network event or have a chance to talk to somebody, right?
Absolutely. I mean, point number 4 says introduce yourself to someone, right? More experience, but you can just take it, introduce yourself. You know, if I see you in a networking event and I walk up to you and I say, hey, how are you doing? You are? And that's kind of like an icebreaker. I'm asking Ralph who he is. Ralph will say, my name is ralph.lee. And Ralph, what is that you do, right? And then you will now start to tell me, what is that you do? And then I ask you, well, how did you get there? And then you start to tell me how you got there. And then I'll ask you, why did you get there? So then introducing yourself will be an icebreaker, right? Exactly. You're also practicing active listening, which is number 6, right? So when people are talking, you're listening keenly to what they're saying, right? And ultimately, what you're trying to do is develop a connection with this individual that you can take the discussion offline and ultimately develop a network of individuals that you're connected to can help you grow in your career.
Exactly. So I always tell my students, clients to prepare, tell me about yourself, or elevator pitch, right? And then you actually are the expert with the elevator pitch. What is elevator pitch?
Well, just think of the concept of actually getting an elevator with somebody in a building and you're, let's say, 10, 12 floors up, and you got 2 minutes on the elevator ride to get back down to the bottom floor to tell them the who, the what, the why, and about yourself. So ultimately, once the thing goes ping and the door's open, you're walking out of that elevator with ultimately their contact details, which you can ask for, right? Your objective is to get some information about them, exchange some information about yourself with them, and then ultimately you're going to lead to doing a follow-up conversation with them. So it's just a quick intro. You're not trying to sell anything to anybody. You're just trying to develop that connection, and then you move forward with it from there.
Exactly. There's a whole bunch of tactics how you prepare the elevator pitch, which you should talk about your skill sets, your experiences, and what type of person you are. It's just like tell me about yourself on the first interview questions, right?
Exactly, right? So then you're going to give that person enough information for them to be intrigued by you, to want to continue the discussion, right? That is the ultimate goal. And obviously, if they're intrigued by you, want to continue the discussion, that could lead to a potential career opportunity, or that could lead to you being introduced to other people that might be able to help and guide you and grow in your career or in your network itself.
Yes, sir.
Because if we talk about when you and I met, I used to tell you that I was shy, and you corrected me and said, no, you're quiet, but not shy, which is true. So the thing is, if you sit back and listen, people share information with you, so you're practicing your active listening, and ultimately that will help you be a little more comfortable speaking one-on-one or speaking in a group setting. So once you're comfortable within yourself, you'll be able to get by. Not a problem.
Active listening. You're great with listening carefully, analyzing it, and doing follow-up questions. So you maintain this conversation amazingly. How do you do that?
It's just paying attention to what the individual is saying. So you focus in on what they're actually saying to you, and then you will hear. Sometimes you'll hear the things people are not saying if you're keenly paying attention to what they're saying, and then somewhere in there you'll be able to get something that will lead to another question and another question. So ultimately you become a series of questions, right? Yeah. So it's like when children are young, they ask a lot of why questions. So you can think of your younger self, your inner child, right? Why this? Why that? But you don't want to become annoying with it, right? So you start with a why question, and that becomes a how question, and it becomes a when question. So if you just think of those why, when, and how, that will help you gain information easily with people sharing that with you.
Yeah. You know what? My son asked me about 7 million why questions per day. It's nonstop, but you're exactly right. You're asking when, why, what. This all makes sense. So you're making the flow, right? You're making very interesting conversation. That's the meaningful thing.
Absolutely. That's just the way to go about it. So just think of your inner child, and you should be fine. You become comfortable talking to strangers.
Great. Last but not least, after the network event or meeting somebody for a chat, it's really crucial and important to maintain that relationship, right? You are great at that, going over and beyond to maintain this relationship. How do you do it?
Well, once you're talking to somebody that you've met at a networking event, and you can ascertain, well, you know their name, you ask them where they work, and you ultimately ask them the most important question: are you on LinkedIn? And if they say yes, then great. You ask them, can you connect with them on LinkedIn? So again, LinkedIn is a great platform for you to network, right? So if they're not, then they're not. But then you could also suggest them that that's a great place for them to go to network also. So you connect with them on LinkedIn, you like, share, and comment on the articles that they may write or they may like, right? So that's a good place for people to recognize that you might have a skill set that you don't know that you have just by commenting on things. And LinkedIn is a great place to get information just about career in general. So that'll be the go-to place for me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Robert. Any last words to share with the recent grads or young professionals who's trying to network?
No, my two favorite words: networking and elevator pitch. Right? Once you got those two words down, then you're good to go.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem, my friend. I guess we'll chat again next week.
For sure. Bye-bye.